We're currently living in the era in which creativity is a skill that a person must have to survive the ruthless competition in the 21st century, where innovation is the core element of the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Sadly to say, however, the education system that we once experienced has not facilitated us with the necessary skills or experience to become a creative person. Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Andri Syafaat. Now in this video, I'm going to share my takeaways from Seth Godin's recently published book, The Practice, in which he talks about creativity and the big idea or concept behind the practice. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. Seth Godin is known as the master or guru of marketing. He is an American writer and former .com business executive. He is the author of more than 18 books. Free Prize Insight, the next big marketing idea, won Forbes Business Book of the Year in 2004, while The Dip was a Business Week and New York Times bestseller. Now in 2018, Godin made it into the American Marketing Association's Marketing Hall of Fame. He also runs a blog named in 2009 by Times as one of the 25 best blogs. Before we go any further, what is the definition of practice? Practice, according to Oxford Dictionary, is to do an activity or training regularly so that you can improve your skill. The time you spend doing this. So what is actually the practice according to Seth Godin? Committing to a practice for your creative work is the key to your success. The practice is totally about creative work. Seth's principle is that doing the work is everything. Success appears when you do the work, satisfaction comes when you do the work, fulfillment comes when you do the work. Practice, in Seth's definition, does not mean what you do in preparation for the real game, as in basketball practice or practicing playing the guitar. The practice is the game. The practice is what you and I do every day when we go in our workspace, shut the door, and sit down to chase our dreams. The practice is a lifelong process. The practice goes beyond aspiration for success. Observe any artist you admire, living or dead, male or female, wild and crazy or conventional and sane. Everyone will have a practice. And if you ask them their secret, they'll tell you, I do it every day and nothing gets in the way of that. Why is the practice important in creative work? Well, here is an essential quote from Seth Godin taken from his book, The Practice, that responds to the question. Shipping, because it doesn't count if you don't share it. Creative, because you're not a cog in the system. You're a creator, a problem solver, a generous leader who is making things better by producing a new way forward. Work, because it's not a hobby. You might not get paid for it, not today, but you approach it as a professional. The muse is not the point. Excuses are avoided, and the work is why you are here. How can we be creative according to the practice? According to Seth in his interview with Forbes, well, what is creativity anyway? Creativity keeps changing. Creative work in 1850 didn't look like creative work today. It's not universal. What it has in common is that it is living on an edge of possibility. And because that's what it is, we can get better at living there. And I think that's worth doing. Now, in the creative process, there are things you can control and things you can't. You can control your own practice, how much time you spend on a given project, what stages or phases you include, how deep you go, what do you analyze and research, what is your attitude, how you set your goals, what structure do you choose, and when will you ship or deliver it. You can't control the outcomes, how people will react, whether the audience will love it, whether your bosses or coworkers like it or not. And the more important the project, the more people tend to get attached to the outcomes. Yet, as Seth Godin says, the first step is to separate the process from the outcome. In order to do so, imagine that the project fails. You don't meet the external targets you expected. The number of people who downloaded your ebook or viewed your YouTube video was below the expectation. If so, would the process still be worth the effort? Yes, definitely it would. Embracing the paradox. And there is a paradox here, according to Seth. On one hand, we have to ignore the outcome, the box office numbers, and the famous critics because we obsess about them. We'll break our process, lose our momentum, and eventually be tired of our will to be creative. On the other hand, there is actually a difference between good work and not good work. There is a point to our effort, and the change we search for to make involves empathy for others, not just from our own perspective of doing whatever we feel like. The paradox is at the heart of our practice. We must dance with it, not to pretend it doesn't exist. Embracing this paradox means willingness to disconnect your efforts from external matrix and enjoy the process itself. In other cases, desire for quick positive feedback will put you in a fragile position. When you crave fast gratification so much you sacrifice your own goals, or purpose and agenda in search for shortcuts and chase something you can never get. The power of showing up. When someone calls the plumber, he doesn't require that the work is exciting to see or it shows intelligent work. He just needs his pipes unclogged. That's it. And it's the same with writers. Nobody demands you to come up with your best work possible anytime you put your fingers on the keyboard. Nobody expects you to write the best blog post ever, the best YouTube video that will get more views. And when a plumber approaches a problem, he doesn't take it personally. He doesn't treat the broken pipe as a sign of his flaws, but finds more tools or the repair will take longer than expected. It happens, it's natural. It is similar to a professional writer. He shouldn't take his work personally. Instead, he shows up and uses all the tools he has to deliver something useful for others. And his mood has nothing to do with it. The outcome might fail to meet the expectations, but if so, he either fixes the piece or draws lesson for the next time. It happens, it's natural. This is what we call reality. Now suddenly, I remembered a clip from Christopher Nolan's movie Tenet that is similar to this condition.
What's happened's happened, which is an expression of faith in the mechanics of the world. It's not an excuse to do nothing.
Fate?
Call it what you want.
What do you call it?
Reality.
Trust. Seth Godin said we have to trust ourselves and then we have to trust the people we serve. One of our greatest fears is putting ourselves out there for others to criticize or judge. Then there are several occasions of talented individuals working thoroughly on one piece of creative work their whole lives. They dedicate all this time to this creative work because they do not want to spread this work without it being perfect. Seth Godin argues this as a mistake. He offers the example of Isaac Asimov. Asimov was able to write and publish 400 books during his life. Each of his books can be described as an act of creativity. Basically, Asimov improved the world greatly, more than if he had spent his lifetime on one book. The latter is characterized by personal torture and is driven by ego. Godin calls this creative work with a capital C. We need to stop worshipping this type of creative work and instead encourage people to integrate creative work with a lowercase c into their lives. This type of creative work is mostly for the purpose of contribution. Nowadays, more and more of us work in creative industries. What demands us to operate in uncertainty, with no manual at all, none whatsoever. Every so often, we find ourselves doing something for the first time, with no guarantee or reassurance whatsoever that our efforts or attempt will produce results we expect, while mostly don't have much control over the outcomes. No matter how deep your market research is and how well the product is crafted, you can't tell if people will love it or not. And this uncertainty makes us stressed, uneasy, and blocked, anxious about the results. We don't want to ship our work until it's perfected, until it's more researched, more polished, redefined, deepened, until it's too late or it's no longer relevant. Fear of misstep, of negative feedback stops us from doing any relevant work. Instead, we get busy and responsive. The alternative is to see creativity as an activity, not a feeling, and to do your practice from the place of generosity, trusting yourself, letting go of the will to control what we can't control. Just show up, enjoy the process, stop focusing on the outcome, and have the mindset of everything might not work and that's okay. So that is it. I hope you find this video beneficial for your personal life and work. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't, please. So, show up and enjoy the process of your creative work. See you.